This is a map of all the places in Boston that we use to represent the American Revolution.
Here we are at the Superior Court Adjudicator, where in 1761 our fellow patriot, James Otis, fought to have the writs of assistance abolished, but unfortunately he lost.
What were the writs of assistance?
The writs of assistance were horrible search warrants that allowed the regular officials to barge into our houses to look for smuggled goods. I cannot stand all these new bills.
This plaque represents our beloved Liberty Tree, which we were all able to come together and oppose the Stamp Act crisis in 1763.
What were the Stamp Acts?
The Stamp Acts were taxes on all written material due to the war debt of the 7 Years' War. The Sons of Liberty hung a doll of the tax collector Andrew Oliver from our tree. The Sons of Liberty were mostly self-made merchants that had the most disdain for the new bill.
The old State House is where the Boston Massacre took place on March 5, 1770, due to a group of patriots harassing the redcoats with snowballs and rocks.
What were the causes and effects?
This was when the colonists were upset due to the Townshend Acts and Quartering Acts and caused the death of 5 colonists. Paul Revere created his propaganda from this event.
Here at the Central Burial Ground lies 15 of the patriots who participated in the Boston Tea Party dressed as Indians. The Boston Tea Party was due to the Tea Act, and here along the patriots lay many redcoats which died during the Battle of Bunker Hill and the Siege of Boston.
The Tea Act lowered the price of tea and was an economic bailout for the British East India Company. The effect was the Intolerable Acts, which were punishments due to dumping the tea.
The Boston Harbor was historical because it was where the Boston Tea Party took place, which is the cause of the Intolerable Acts which us patriots hated. The Intolerable Acts consisted of the Boston Port Act, Administration of Justice Act, and the King suspended the charter and replaced our colonial assembly. Also, the First Continental Congress was formed.
What were the causes and effects of the Intolerable Acts?
The Intolerable Acts were caused by the Boston Tea Party and the Coercive Acts, which consisted of the Boston Port Act, the Massachusetts Government Act, the Administration of Justice Act, the Quartering Act, and the Quebec Act. The effects were the Royal Assembly replaced the Colonial Assembly, the King got rid of elected officials, we were economically hurt due to paying back for the tea, and the First Continental Congress was formed.
The First Continental Congress was caused by the Intolerable Acts, and the effects were the Suffolk resolves, the colonies must train a militia, and boycott goods from Great Britain.
This is the house of our brave patriot Paul Revere. He was a spy for us and part of the Sons of Liberty during the battles of Lexington and Concord. Paul Revere's job was to alert the colonists and Samuel Adams and John Hancock of when the regulars were coming. One way he signaled the colonists is by putting up lanterns in the old State House. He put up 1 lantern if they were coming by sea and 2 lanterns if they were coming by land to reach Concord. The reason Paul Revere had to warn Samuel Adams and John Hancock was because they were stockpiling weapons in Concord. On April 19, 1775, during the battles of Lexington and Concord, 49 colonists died and 73 regulars died.
The Battle of Lexington and Concord was caused by the First Continental Congress and the Olive Branch Petition. The effects were Minutemen were created, there were no more peaceful solutions available, and the saying, "A shot heard around the world," was created.
This is a statue of George Washington, who was a delegate from Virginia during the First and Second Continental Congress, until appointed commander of the Continental Army. He commanded his army during the Battle of Bunker Hill and the Siege of Boston, and we all believe that he will command many more.
The causes of the Second Continental Congress were the Battle of Lexington and Concord, Boston Massacre, and to take control of the war effort. The effects were they created a Continental Army, approved the Olive Branch Petition, wrote the Declaration of Independence, and approved the printing of money.
The causes of the Battle of Bunker Hill were the Siege of Boston and the Continental Army fortified Breed's Hill. The effects were General Warren was killed, 400 patriots died, 1,000 regulars died, and the British were forced to retreat due to the lack of ammunition.
The cause of the Siege of Boston was the moving of cannons from Fort Ticonderoga. The effects were the Battle of Bunker Hill and the British fled Boston.
You are probably wondering why we brought you to this burial ground. This is the place where all the people who signed our Declaration of Independence and the Massachusetts delegates in the First Continental Congress were buried. These people fought for our beloved country's independence from the regulars. The Continental Congress was their government during our war for independence and planned our resistance to the dreadful Intolerable Acts. They also drafted our Declaration of Independence, which stated our unalienable rights and our grievances to the King.
The causes of the Declaration of Independence were Common Sense, written by Thomas Paine, which helped convince the undecided to become patriots. The colonists were angry about new acts passed by Parliament. King George III ignored the Olive Branch. and the Battle of Lexington and Concord, a shot heard around the world. The effects were the war was no longer viewed as a civil war, but as a war between two independent countries. The Treaty of Paris made America an independent nation, and it was used as an example for other countries that wanted independence.